Hey guys, today's video is going to be a little bit different, not the Q&A part, of course, they're not new to my channel, but I'm hosting it in a different location. Normally I run the question part of my Q&As through Instagram, but I've had a lot of comments from you guys saying, hey, I can't get an Instagram account, I'm not allowed one, so I thought this time I would run the Q&A through the community tab and see if more of you guys will be able to join in with it. Also, you may have noticed I'm not actually on the screen, and that's because I feel like it's been ages since you guys have seen Iodine especially, but some of the other pets as well. So instead of me being on screen talking, I thought I'd just do this as a kind of podcast type voiceover thing. Let's get into this Q&A, let's see what you've asked, and let's answer it. More rodents on the way, not really anytime soon. I know I did mention a couple of months ago that I was going to add some newbies to the Billy XL cage, but since bringing in not only, of course, osmium and sulfur, but also we've got Rodney, we've got Zinc now, I'm actually really happy with the size of the family, and you know, there's a lot of responsibilities that go with having more than the normal amount of pets, and I'm quite happy with where things are right now. So although I do intend to eventually put someone into the Billy XL, it's not on the plans right this second. It could be, you know, a few months down the line. It might end up being next year, who knows, or it might end up just being like I'm out one day, I fall in love with a little, you know, dwarf hamster or something, and I bring it home. I don't know, but right now, no actual plans. Do you have a job next to YouTube? No, YouTube is my personal sole income, although Dan of course works as well, so the household has two incomes, but I obviously have to spend a lot of my time taking care of the animals, also taking care of my home. I do a fair bit of the cleaning and the cooking and stuff like that, so it's kind of part-time YouTube, part-time house person. My hamster is starting to bar chew. I have lots of chew toys, 3+. Oh, this is one I hear a lot. I have made a video in the past on chewing. I kind of feel like it might need an update. Actually, no, it definitely needs an update because that's one back when my camera and microphone were totally out of sync, and I got accused of lip syncing just because the audio was slightly out. What a weird time that was. Yeah, chew toys aren't really going to be enough to keep your hamster satisfied. In fact, one of the biggest problems I get asked about from people is how to get their hamster to chew their chew toys. Hamsters are not big chewers. You will get the occasional one that's a bit destructive, but for the most part, hamsters aren't big chewers, and chew toys aren't necessarily going to grab their attention. More often than not, though, bar chewing doesn't have anything to do with whether or not your hamster has enough things to chew on. Bar chewing is often a sign of stress or an unsuitable environment, or both, because an unsuitable environment will cause stress for your hamster. It's really important that you give your hamster the biggest cage you possibly can, and that can mean more than minimum sometimes. Again, I hear from people, you know, I've got a minimum size cage and my hamster still chews, or my cage is, you know, slightly above minimum or way above minimum, and my hamster still acts like it's bored in there, like it's too small. Why is this? And that's because that minimum size, the minimum size that exists, those are for us. Those are for humans, just to stop us putting our animals in anything that is cruel. But your hamster's also going to have its own personal opinion on how much space it should have in its home and how much space it wants. So just because your cage may be above minimum doesn't guarantee that it's big enough for that particular hamster. That's why it's so important for you to get the biggest cage you possibly can, and one of the first things you're going to need to do when it comes to problematic bar chewing is to consider upgrading your cage to something bigger. I know it's a pain in the bum, I know it can be expensive, this is why bin cages are a fantastic thing. I also have a whole playlist on DIY cages, some of them a little more pricey than others, but all of them within reason for the size you're getting. The other thing you have to remember is that hamsters do need more than just chew toys. They need a lot of stimulation, they need lots of things to do and play with. They need to be able to dig, to climb a little bit. Hamsters aren't big climbers, but they do appreciate a little bit of climbing. Tubes and tunnels and cardboard boxes, things to explore, foraging areas, puzzle toys. Those are so severely overlooked. Puzzle toys are great. They will keep your hamster busy for so long, and you can get them at different levels for hamsters with, you know, different abilities in their IQ. In most bar chewing cases, the problem is rectified when you fix the environment. It is so common for it to be caused by the environment. So make sure you provide lots and lots of toys. Make sure the wheel is big enough for your hamster and a safe wheel as well for them to run in when they need to. Make sure they're getting time outside of their cage as well. That's just as important if they are high energy hamsters. And of course, make sure their environment, their cage, is as big as you can possibly offer them. And never ever buy into the myth that bar chewing is somehow a good thing. You still hear people say this occasionally, that it's good for their teeth. It is not good for their teeth at all. This is why they have chew toys, wooden chew toys, cardboard chew toys, things that are safe for them. Bars, on the other hand, if they chew them too long, they can cause severe damage to their jaw, to their teeth, to their nose, and in the worst cases, they can even cause long-term brain damage as well. Have you ever bred hamsters? And if you haven't, would you? Why not? Yes, actually, a few years ago, okay, this is a bit of a backstory to this one. So I moved to the UK to study for a couple of years when I think I was 15. I went there for about 3 years. And while I was over there, that's when I first started keeping hamsters, and the showing industry, for the hamster showing industry over there is huge. They've got some fantastic ethical breeders over there. When you get into the hamster community over in the UK, it's a really amazing community to be a part of, and I definitely missed that from being over there. But I did get really, really into Roborovskis, and especially into the idea of breeding Roborovskis ethically, of course, because unfortunately well, at least at that time, I'm not sure about now, there were very few ethical Roborovski breeders in the country. There were, I think, less than 5 at that time, spread across the entire United Kingdom, and in the area that I lived, you could only get Roborovskis from big chain pet shops, and there wasn't an option. The rescue centres in the area pretty much only had Syrians to be rescued, so there wasn't an option for people to get well-bred, healthy Roborovski dwarfs, and there wasn't an option for people to not support chain pet shops if they didn't want to. And so I really wanted to become another avenue for that, and I also wanted to get into the colour side of breeding. When you're breeding sort of new colours and the new genetics and understanding the genetics and how they work. Now, this was a long time ago, so unfortunately I don't remember a lot of the information, but I did spend around 18 months studying to breed Roborovskis ethically. I spoke to other ethical breeders who had already been in that industry for a long time, and I learned so much. I had to obviously learn and understand genetics as well. There was a lot that went into it. I am definitely pro ethical breeding. Ethical breeding is so important, because without it, all you'd be left with are the unethically bred animals, and unethical breeding can basically wipe out an entire species, because they end up breeding all the sicknesses through them, all the genetic problems, and you just get unhealthy line after unhealthy line, and eventually the animal can become destroyed by it. I'm not sure if there's a better word than that. So ethical breeding is incredibly important, as long as you're not overbreeding. I mean, you got to be careful there. If there's too many breeders in one area, then you've got a problem. So there's lots of ethical things to consider. There's the research, there's understanding genetics and how they work together, lethal genes in certain species. There's just so much that goes into it. So it's not something I'm ever going to teach on my channel, because you can't cover it all in a single video or even a video series. And my information only pertains to Roborovskis anyway. And like I say, it was a long time ago, I don't really remember much of it anymore. And also because I know that although some people may take that information and use it for its intended purpose, other people would take the basics of that information and use it for unethical practices. And I know me not putting that information out there doesn't stop that, but it stops me being part of that. And I don't want to feel like information I'm giving out is going into that system and going into the unethical breeding. So if you are somebody who wants to learn how to breed ethically, if you're genuinely interested in doing something like that, it's a wonderful experience. I definitely recommend it if you're up for it, but you need to go to a forum, and Hamster Central is definitely the best place to go. I would say they are pro-ethical breeding. You can learn a lot over there. There are a lot of ethical breeders there that you can talk to, get to know, and you may find out it's not actually for you, but definitely, if it's something you want to do, if it's something you're thinking about doing, please do your research first. It's so important. Personally, it's not something I think I'll be doing again. I've definitely considered taking on an already pregnant hamster. That is something I would like to do in the future, Not on the cards right this second because I don't have the space or the resources for it. But purposeful breeding, probably not going to happen. Not now I'm back home in Cyprus where I can't get like pedigree well-bred hamsters to start with. So, yeah. I've never seen your pets in a ball. How do you feel about them? Actually, there may be a video on my channel of them using a ball way back when. I mean, this channel's been going since 2011. There is some old stuff on here. Exercise balls are kind of controversial. I think they're getting less controversial. People are leaning a lot more to one side over the other. But for a long time, they were very, very controversial to really talk about. The general idea, though, is that the exercise balls, not a great idea. It's kind of the last option you want to go to. There's a lot of reasons for them not being good. I'm not going to sit and talk about them here because this video is already going on. But you can go to like forums and stuff and find out why people are so against them. But there's definitely some much better options you can go to. You can use a bathtub as a playpen. You can build a cardboard playpen. I have a video for that on my channel if you want to, see a tutorial. Just a shameless plug right in the middle there. You can also buy playpens, or you can hamster-proof a room, like a bathroom or a small bedroom, something like that. There are much better options for your pet to play in. Hamster balls, it's such an iffy topic. I don't personally use them anymore. I just let my hamsters free range in my pet-proofed room, where they climb into the walls and plot my demise. What are your thoughts on flying saucers? I've heard different things about them, but I'm not sure if they're good for hamsters because they're essentially just running in circles. That's not something I've heard about them. That's kind of weird. Flying saucers are great. They are fantastic wheels if you get the right size. This is the big issue with them. A lot of people get them in the same size as you'd get a traditional wheel. It doesn't quite work like that because they are a different design. You really want to get a flying saucer wheel in the next size up to the size you'd get a traditional wheel in. So if you were getting an 8-inch traditional wheel, you want an 11-inch flying saucer. It's just because of the design the way it is, it just makes it safer for you to go for a bigger one. They're also very lightweight, so you don't have to worry as much about your hamster not being able to move it. Or you can make your own, once again, DIY on my channel. It depends on the individual hamster though. Some hamsters like them, some prefer traditional wheels. It's not a big deal which one you choose. They are both wheels, they both provide your hamster with exercise. Your hamster on a traditional wheel is also technically running in circles. Just forever and ever. If they're using their flying saucer correctly, it really is no different to a regular wheel though, so I don't know why there would be a debate about it. Also, if you've got the space, you can offer both types of wheel to your hamster and just let them pick which one they want. Sometimes they might use one, sometimes they might use the other. What are your thoughts on dog tricks and sports like agility and flyball? Agility is fantastic. I remember when I was a very little girl, my mum had this great big old English sheepdog, and he used to do agility courses, and he was brilliant at it. She used to take me along to the shows, and it was so much fun to watch. And in fact, her current dog, who she's had since I was 11, I think, the family dog, Gwyn, I used to do a lot of agility training with her because I wanted to do agility courses with Gwyn. Unfortunately, though, she got an injury, which meant she could no longer do agility courses and stuff, so I never got to do that. But I do like agility. Flyball, on the other hand, is not something I know a great deal about because I've only seen it once. I know it's a pretty old sport, but we don't have English-speaking TV or anything like that. We don't have Crufts or anything on over here. So the only time I've seen it is when they've got Crufts playing or dog shows playing in some other country and it ends up like trending on Twitter or something like that. And I see videos of amazing dogs doing amazing things in a show. And Flyball looks amazing. I have no idea what's going on in that sport, but it's fast and it's furry and I like it. As for dog tricks are awesome. You can make your dog do something fun and your dog's enjoying it. It's great. I am so enjoying training Rodney. I hate to say this, Rodney's so much more intelligent than John. Either that or he's just more willing to please people. I'm not sure. But John doesn't enjoy training, so he got taught the basics and then he's just kind of stopped there. But Rodney really enjoys it. So I'm hoping to be able to teach him some fun things that John doesn't know. Is Alaska a good cage for a Syrian? I am assuming you mean the Alaska cage and not Alaska itself. Alaska, well, I mean the space is good, but the cold? Not sure. As far as I'm aware, the Alaska cage is pretty good. Let me just search this. It's been a while since anyone's asked me about this cage. I think it's an 80 by 50, but I am not sure. Oh, and it's for sale on Zooplus. Zooplus, start delivering out here! Can't believe you still don't deliver out here. It's so not fair. Right, let's see how big this is. 84 by 48.5. Yes, the Alaska cage is perfectly big enough for your hamster to live in. Do you let Zinc roam in a pet-safe room? Because that still seems a little risky to me, callbacks to iodine in the wall. Zinc has not yet been allowed any kind of free roaming time. He's not completely tame yet, although he's doing fantastically well. So when he's out of his cage, he's just on me. He just sort of climbs over me and sits with me, and he plays on my desk and stuff like that. But he's never been let to just free roam in the same way my hamsters do. And I'm kind of with you there that I'm not completely sure it would be safe in this room. It feels risky. It really does. He's just so tiny and able to get everywhere and climb. It's bad enough when iodine climbs things. I don't need a tiny climbable creature climbing things. Ooh, here's a bit of a touchy one. What are your thoughts on the hamster euthanasia method? I personally find it so cruel, so do you think it's better to let them go naturally? I am not 100% sure on what euthanasia method they use where you live, because it could be different, and I suppose it could vary from vet to vet as well. The one that I'm aware of is where they put them into a little container and then they pump a kind of, I'm not sure exactly what it is. It is a gas of some kind in, and they fall asleep. That is the one I know of, and speaking as somebody who has had to have a hamster euthanized, personally I don't find it cruel, because it would have been so much crueler to keep her alive, and also, she didn't go in a painful way. She fell asleep. So, I don't know, maybe there's another method that you're talking about, because I kind of find it hard to see that somebody would see that as cruel. But the hamster I had to have euthanized was Cookie. Some of you may remember her. She was, well, I was going to say one of my first ever hamsters I got when I was 16. They were a pair of Roborowski dwarfs, Cookie and Truffle. And Cookie, unfortunately, had a very large tumour grow under her front arm, and we had it kind of taken away once, but the vet did tell us it was just going to, it was full of fluid, and she said it was just going to eventually come back, and they could keep draining it, but the reality was they weren't going to be able to take it away, and eventually it was going to, be her death. If I remember correctly, she lived for about 4 months with this tumour, and she did really, really well, and I was keeping a very close eye on her because I wanted to make sure that if it came to it, if she just couldn't cope anymore, that she wasn't made to suffer, and that she wasn't forced to continue living with something that was just going to kill her slowly anyway, because I honestly think that's an absolutely horrible way to live. And I knew, I am 100% perfectly fine with the decision I made, because I knew when I made it that it was the right decision. I think anyone would have made the same. And the day I made the decision, she had been just playing about in her cage, and she had to live on her own because her health had got so bad that she couldn't live with Truffle anymore. And I can't remember if she was using a sand bath or she just flipped herself over, but she was trying to get back up onto her feet, and she was wriggling and wriggling, kicking her arms and legs and trying to get back up. And she does that, hamsters do that, they tend to flip themselves back over. But this tumour she had was so big that it was really, really difficult for her to get back up again. And she was wriggling and kicking. And then she just stopped. And just lay there on her back. And she had given up. And had I not been in the room, she would have just lay there until I came back home. I watched her for a few minutes to see if she was going to try again, if she was maybe just tired. But no, she'd given up. And that was the point where I thought, no, I can't do this to you anymore. It's cruel. It's cruel to keep her alive. She is suffering. It's her time to go. So that decision at that time for her was right. I know that lots of people do second guess their decisions, but ultimately it is up to the owner. They are the person who knows the animal best, and I don't think it's the place of anyone else. Unless the animal is obviously not suffering and they've been put down for a really stupid reason. It doesn't happen often, but it does happen sometimes, unfortunately. But if the animal was sick and the owner has made that decision, you've just got to go with it. Would you like to keep Duprasi? What on earth is that? I'm going to have to Google. Oh, what is that? Oh, it's some little creature thing. I like it already. It's a rodent belonging to the subfamily... it's a gerbil creature. The gerbil thing. They're the most docile species of the gerbil subfamily, often called the fat-tailed gerbil or Duprasi gerbil. How cool is that? I had no idea that thing existed. It kind of looks like... It's got the look of a Chinese hamster to it. That's really strange. Oh, I definitely have one of those just for the weirdness factor. I've never seen that in my life. Oh my goodness, there's not a chance I'd be able to find one of those here though. Can hamsters eat superworms? I don't know. I don't see why not. But can you get dry superworms? Because most hamsters won't eat a live mealworm, so I'm not sure if they'd eat a live superworm, and superworms are huge. They might be a bit too fatty for a hamster, actually, thinking about it. I'm not sure. Maybe ask that one on a forum, because I'm not 100%. I feel like they might be too big. I don't know. Alright, so I'm going to wrap this up here. My throat is closing up from so much talking. How long have I been recording this for? I know it's not going to be the full length of the video. Okay, I've been recording for 48 minutes. Talking non-stop for 48 minutes. How am I supposed to trim this video down? Oh my goodness, this is going to take a week to upload. I definitely found this voiceover version a lot easier to film than when I normally do my on-camera Q&A, so maybe I'll do this again in the future. I don't know, what do you guys think of this? Do you like the change? Do you like that it's different? Let me know in the comments below. Also, since the community tab seemed to work out quite well, I think I'm going to stick to that for future Q&A, so make sure you turn on your notifications so you can find out when a Q&A is coming up and you can participate in it. In the meantime though, if you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to leave a thumbs up. You can also share it with your friends and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Thank you so much for watching and listening, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye!